Hello everyone, welcome to the first Ask the Expert webinar for 2013. My name is Abhishek Banduni, and in today's presentation we'll focus on the Sentinel APIs while emphasizing some of the most commonly used ones in addition to covering other types of legacy APIs. Additionally, we shall discuss the whole concept of integration automation using the APIs, the challenges and pain points an ISP may come across, our solutions and their overall benefits. But before we get started, I would like to remind you that you can submit your questions at any time. Just click the questions tab on your screen and we will answer the questions at the end of our webcast during Q&A. So let's get started. Okay, these are the topics that we shall be covering in our session today. We shall make a start and discuss the concept of integration, what it means, what we offer, and how the integration automation helps drive the bottom line for the independent software vendor. We'll also cover the challenges, pain points an ISV may be facing, and or reasons for wanting to make use of our APIs. Next, we shall be talking about our approach, that is the use of APIs as part of the Toolbox and the use of EMS Web Services. From there, we will go into more details on various APIs and go over the main features of each. We'll then discuss the benefits in terms of faster integration, the automation of internal processes and reporting. We shall, of course, leave some time to go over some questions during the Q&A session. Okay, so why is integration so important? It basically refers to the process of incorporating or automating several disjoint systems into one. And in our case, the independent software vendor integrating between an existing ERP CRM systems and their license generation and delivery applications. The integration process can be lengthier and require more man hours. By the end of the day, it provides added control where it matters to some of the ISPs. We'll of course discuss the other aspects, that is, how does an ISP adapt to changing market needs and as a result reduce inventory cost. In addition, talk about license management and reporting as they directly link with an existing system and or database for tracking and billing purposes. Sorry. So what are the challenges that independent software may be facing? The first one is R&D focuses on developing and maintaining an in-house solution. Since licensing is not the ISV's core competency, they tend to make things simple, easy for themselves. That is lacking support for multiple features in terms of flexibility and feature bundling. Not to mention that each customer request now becomes a full R&D process. And again, defocusing R&D from their core competency. An additional angle that we need to look at is the lack of knowledge, experience in terms of security and performance. That is, how increased security may have direct impact on the protected application's performance. And its implementation is part of the overall design. And lastly, these in-house systems are not fully, they're not future-looking, meaning that they are not built from the ground, and shortfall in terms of having centrally managed system which can be interconnected with an existing ERP or CRM system. So the basic idea behind the various APIs revolves around integration or automation and overall system simplification and reduced cost. Time is money, we all know that. The idea is that we allow an integration between various business systems, that is ordering and license generation and delivery systems using a single tool. Using the APIs allows the ISV to shorten time to market, reduce costs, and improve overall profitability. Last but not the least, being able to automate. This is where the interface between order taking and actual license fulfillment really makes a difference. This simple integration can really reduce human errors and improve the actual management and tracking of licenses, and of course report and bill accordingly, as everything runs from one system, and we all know that it means the information is consistent. As for the reasons, those are straight and straightforward, and simply answer the challenges that we described earlier. Integration with minimal code interference, protect your application without the need to modify or recompile source code again. Increased protection, talking about create a strong binding between the application flow and the Sentinel protection key functionality, such as encryption or memory. Efficiency and flexibility, use in conjunction with an existing ERP CRM system to provide maximum flexibility and control over business processes. Seamless end user experience, integrate new business processes into the existing user interface. So how is it done in reality? The ISV can explore the APIs and their behavior. They can generate code and add it directly into the source code of the application. They can of course customize on-screen messages to indicate specific scenarios. So how does that translate to the solution that we provide? Let's look at it. Sorry. The Sentinel EMS Web Services, let's talk about it. These web services allow to integrate various Sentinel EMS functionalities into an organizational management software, for example, ERP or CRM. And how is it done? This is done via RESTful web services. This allows an ISV to manage features, products, entitlements, and customers. For example, create, update, delete, etc. And all this using get, put, post, and delete commands. These are the standard RESTful functions. The LinkGen or LicenseGen API can be used together with an existing licensing server software or an ERP CRM back office systems to provide maximum flexibility and control over internal business processes. For sites that already have a licensing infrastructure in place or that prefer to implement an alternative to Sentinel EMS, Sentinel LDK offers a standalone licensing solution called License Generator API. We also call them LinkGen APIs. The Sentinel Toolbox serves as a training demonstration tool for Sentinel API, allowing to display the source code generated for each function call. This includes all the data objects required to execute the specific function call. This generated source code can be applied directly into the application source code. Simply you've got to copy and paste in your application source code. Additionally, you can manually explore or evaluate each API implementation. Every API function included in Toolbox is displayed on a separate screen. You can transfer memory buffers using AES encryption, of course, as a means of enhancing the overall security. A reverse operation can, of course, be performed by decrypting data buffers. We have decrypt API for that. The licensing API helps to increase or enhance the overall protection of the protected application by introducing calls to a central protection key throughout the application source code. So basically binding the application's functionality and the protection key. The admin API provides the functionality available in Admin Control Center or ACC and the Central License Manager in the form of callable API functions. These functions can be called to retrieve information from local or remote license managers and to perform various actions on these license managers. For example, examine the configuration of a license manager installation and make modifications to its configuration. Examine a list of accessible protection keys. Retrieve all feature data for specific protection keys. It is also possible to detach a protection key from one computer and attach it to a different computer. We also call it license rehosting. And of course, you can apply V2C files using the APIs. Now let's do a quick recap of Toolbox functionality. It displays the source code generated for each function call. This generated source code can be copied and pasted directly into the application's source code. Additionally, you can manually evaluate each API implementation. Every API function included in the Toolbox is displayed on a separate screen. You can transfer memory buffers as a means of enhancing the overall security. A reverse operation can of course be performed by decrypting data buffers. This is how the Toolbox look like. You can observe that there are three categories of APIs: the licensing APIs, admin APIs, and license generation APIs. So these are the APIs that we have already talked about in previous slides. Just wanted to give you an idea how Toolbox look like and how you can conveniently use it to generate source code and also test APIs. Okay, now let's take a deep dive. The licensing API helps to enhance the overall security by introducing calls to a central protection key throughout the application source code, basically binding the application's functionality to the protection key. This is achieved through both encrypting and decrypting data and by protecting critical data on the key's memory. You can always store it inside the key. Additionally, this API allows managing various license-related functions. Using the login call, the application can request a license and have the runtime and the protection key validate all license terms automatically. Available licenses and session information can be retrieved using the getInfo and getSessionInfo API calls respectively, and allows to detach a license from a pool of network seats. We also call it commuting a license and making it available for a remote user who cannot be connected to the network. License rehosting can be done through APIs, and of course you can install all the updates. In terms of individual options, the licensing API can help perform these additional functions. The first is what we call session functions. This refers to how a session is created by executing a successful login call to a license residing in a specific central protection key. The second is encryption functions. This allows to encrypt or decrypt data buffers using the AES-based encryption engine in the central protection key. Another option refers to memory functions. This refers to a memory location used by the application at runtime and information that can be used later to verify and identify an end user. Another option is time functions. These, as the name implies, can be used to access the real-time clock in the key and validate the integrity of a time-based license. And lastly, management functions, which allow to retrieve information on system components, the current logging session, the status of a deployed Sentinel protection key, and license updates. The LeakGen API can be used together with an existing licensing server, as I explained earlier, and it can also be, integrated with an existing ERP or CRM back office system to provide maximum flexibility and control over business processes. For sites that already have a licensing infrastructure in place, or that prefer to implement an alternative to Sentinel EMS, Sentinel LDK offers a standalone licensing solution called License Generator API, or we also call it LeakGen API. It also provides the functionality required to generate and maintain Sentinel protection keys, but without any of the back office services that are provided by Sentinel EMS. All the required services are provided by the system in place. It is all up to how complex or simple you choose to implement it. The Admin API provides the functionality available in Admin Control Center, or ACC, and Central License Manager in the form of callable API functions. These functions can be called to retrieve information from local or remote license managers and to perform actions on these license managers. For example, one can examine the configuration of a license manager installation, such as the explicit IP address of the remote license manager where the protection key is located, thus allowing the application to consume licenses which would otherwise be inaccessible. One can examine a list of accessible protection keys, retrieve all feature data for a specific protection keys, etc. It is possible to detach a protection key from one computer and attach to a different computer. And of course, as explained earlier, you can apply updates in the form of B2C file. The EMS Web Services are designed to enable you to integrate various functionalities of Sentinel EMS in your organizational management software, for example, ERP or CRM. Through the use of EMS Web Services, a software vendor can generate, manage, and fulfill licenses in addition to providing a GUI for the user to communicate with web server. The EMS Web Services can be called using Java or C. Most of the operations that can be performed using EMS portal can also be performed using the web services. The web services also provide some added security as an option while using an SSL socket with port 443 on HTTPS while requiring a valid session ID on a per session basis. And as a side note, EMS Web Services are based on REST. Okay, let's talk about additional and legacy APIs. As of additional APIs, the first one on the list is Drive Partition API, which allows to create a partition on the HL Drive dongle to create a CD-ROM emulator area. It helps you specify the size of the flash memory relative to the CD-ROM emulator and load files to the CD-ROM emulator. The Runtime Installer API provides developers with an interface for integrating the runtime environment installation onto the installation of the vendor's protected application. .NET Envelope API. Now, protection settings for an application are typically specified using Sentinel Envelope's user interface. For certain settings, the .NET Envelope API provides an alternate method for applying protection. Using this API, developers can specify protection settings for classes and methods directly in their application source code. This is basically accomplished by employing a feature of the .NET framework called custom attributes. The .NET Envelope API provides custom attributes that simplify the overall protection process. .NET Envelope Runtime API helps implementing secure license management using Sentinel.NET Envelope, where methods are encrypted using an AES key of a specific feature ID. Let's put it in a simple example, a use case. If the license for a specific feature is not available or has expired, decryption through HASP is not available. In the end, if the end user attempts to use the feature and a protected method is invoked, the envelope runtime cannot decrypt the method in order to continue the execution. The end user is shown a notification, a message box asking for the license. At this point, the only option that can be offered to the user is retry. Check for the license again in order to decrypt the method. If the user does not have the required license, the program is in a deadlocked state. Now, to avoid this state and to provide more useful options to the end user, developers can use HASP GetInfo functionality to check which all features are available on the Sentinel protection key. If a feature is not available, the application can be prevented from calling a method that is protected using that specific feature. So that's the whole idea. Okay, so why is integration so important? It basically refers to the process of incorporating and automating several disjoint platforms systems into one. In our case, an ISV integrating between an existing ERP CRM systems and their license generation and delivery applications. The integration process can be lengthier and requires more man hours, as I explained earlier. We will of course discuss other aspects, that is, how does an ISV adapt to changing market needs. In addition, talk about license management and reporting, as they directly link with an existing CRM system and tracking. So let's talk about the adapt concept. Having a close integration through the use of APIs allows you to make quick adjustments to your offerings as to better serve existing customers as well as prospects based on their evolving needs. The process of adapting allows to capitalize or monetize on what customers want to pay for while reducing inventory costs and shortening time to market. Again, as part of a close integration process, the ISV can quickly adapt to accommodate for new additional business processes into the existing user interface without negatively affecting the overall look and feel of their application. As for reporting, a better understanding of how, when, and by whom your software is being activated and used allows improving product and business decision making capabilities. Linking your reporting and billing systems through a solid and accurate mechanism helps better managing paying customers. Embedding the APIs at the feature level gives you the ability to not only track activation and entitlement data, but to track the ongoing usage of the features of your application over time. This data can be used to drive future decision-making, roadmap, etc. Additionally, the concept of scheduled reports allows various organizational entities such as sales, product management, marketing, and customer care to query various aspects from licensing terms to expiry, allowing to better manage customer relationships beyond the initial sale, increasing profitability and customer satisfaction. So to tie in everything, I would like to talk about the other end of the spectrum, that is using our professional services team as part of helping either an existing customer or a prospect integrate our APIs into their existing system. This is the process for a typical licensing solution. Professional services design engagement works. How to assess business goals and vision, understand business and operational processes, requirements and use cases, and then analyze and design licensing solution for them. And of course, if there's a need to implement by professional services, then we also offer that service. Okay, so a quick recap from where we are coming. SafeNet was founded in 1983. Today we've got over 1,600 employees. We have over 25,000 customers in over 100 countries worldwide. We have over 500 of our employees are cryptographic engineers. We're the first company in software licensing industry to implement sophisticated encryption capabilities by utilizing white box cryptography. Our software monetization products cover small, mid, and enterprise level applications. Sentinel Cloud, which is highly regarded in the industry, provides license management services for both pure play SaaS and on-prem hybrid applications. In fact, this year the Software and Information Industry Association awarded SafeNet its prestigious Cody Award for the best digital rights management solution in the market today. EMS is our cornerstone entitlement management system. RMS is enterprise grade license management system. And Sentinel LDK is a complete out of the box turnkey license management system that can get you up and running quickly. That's all I have for you guys. I am ready to take questions 101. Okay, I have got one, I guess. So far, the API implementation, especially LinkGen, are used at the manufacturing development end. How do you effect change at the client end? Updating the new SDK LDK would also entail updation of the information stored in the key at the end. Let me just read it again for the sake of better understanding. Okay, the question is, so far the API implementation, especially LinkGen, are used at the manufacturer developer end. How do you effect change at the client end? Updating to the new SDK LDK would also entail updation of the information stored in the key at the client end. So basically, in case there is a need to send the update, the license update at the end user's end, this can be done automatically. So again, by virtue of implementing APIs at the application level, the activation APIs at the application level, those upgrades and updates can be fetched from EMS, and with the help of install API, those updates and upgrade license can be installed at the end user's end. The other question is, where do I get the LinkGen API libraries from? So the libraries and the samples are available as part of the Sentinel LDK installation kit. I can touch base with you directly if need in order to help you locate those libraries and samples. The other one is, I'm using 5.1 version, how to update with your latest tools. Okay, so 5.1 is the older version of our protection licensing and protection toolkit. The newer one is Sentinel LDK 6.3. I can again work with you to provide you the direct link, download link of LDK 6.3 that you can use and start evaluating LDK. And I'll be there to help you with any questions with regards to integration, understanding APIs, giving you a first level demonstration. I'll be more than happy to do that. There's another question which says, what all programming languages are supported for integrating enforcement technology? So the answer is very simple. We support variety of programming languages from C, C++, Visual Studio, Java, Golang, Delphi, etc. Okay. Here pops up another question. Can I use my already master key with your latest tools? The answer is yes. You can use the existing master key, which you're using with 5.1. You can use it with LDK 6.3 also. There's another question which says, is it mandatory to use APIs into my application? Well, it is not mandatory in case you're not looking for feature-based licensing. That is, you only want license check to happen in the beginning or application startup time. However, we recommend to use APIs in conjunction with envelope to achieve highest level of application protection. The other question is, there's something called the developer key. What is it? Okay, so the developer key concept was introduced with HASP SRM, and the same concept is carried forward with Sentinel LDK 6.3. So this developer key, how do we differentiate between the developer key and the master key? So the developer key is actually meant, as the name suggests, is meant for the developers who are responsible for providing the application protection either through envelope or through APIs. So if the developer wants to envelope the application, they need to have developer's key, or if they want to integrate APIs, then using the developer's key they can download the vendor specific libraries, the latest version of vendor specific libraries, and then start integrating APIs into the application. This is what developer key is meant for only. The master key does both the things. It has the ability to allow you do application protection either to envelope or APIs, and it also helps you generate entitlements, generate licenses for the customer. So master key is a superset, and developer key is a subset of master key. Yeah, Mahesh, I'll give you the the link to the latest version of LDK. I just realized that the audio was not up to the mark. Sorry about that. Puneet, I'll touch base with you directly in case you missed out something due to the bad, audio line. Any more questions? Okay. So the question is that we're using VB6 and .NET application. Well, you can use Sentinel LDK latest version APIs. There is no need to make any changes to your existing code because the API signatures from HAS 5.1 to LDK 6.3 doesn't change. You only need to use the latest libraries and recompile your application just to provide the highest level of security. I hope that answers your question, Mahesh. You're welcome. Any other question? Please feel free to raise your hands. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for your participation, and I mean, we'll have more Ask the Expert webinars in future, and I encourage you to join them. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me email. My email ID is abanduni@safenet-inc.com. I repeat, my email ID is abanduni, ABANDUNI @safenet-inc.com. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.